global competitiveness. By the end of 2024, China officially announced a list of national advanced manufacturing clusters featuring 35 groups in total, including an aerospace cluster in southwestern China, a marine engineering and shipbuilding cluster in its eastern coastal region, and an agricultural machinery cluster in its central Luoyang city. Today, we explore the building blocks behind their success, how they weather global uncertainties, and what lies ahead in the next 3 to 5 years. In today's Roundtable show, we're joined by 4 distinguished guests, and they are Ms. Zhang Yan, CEO of Wuhan Guide Infrared, a leading player in infrared thermal imaging technology and a pillar enterprise in Optics Valley in Wuhan. Next, we're pleased to welcome Ms. Marika Balsek, General Manager of the German Center for Industry and Trade, Taicang, a bridge for German businesses operating in China. And Mr. Yang Bongartz, Senior Vice President of Yangtze Optical Fiber and Cable, or YOFC, a global leader in producing communicational optical fiber preforms, fibers, and cables, also headquartered in Wuhan. Also joining us is Mr. Francois Marion, Chief Communications Officer at Valeo Group, a global automotive supplier at the forefront of smart mobility and electrification technologies. Thank you all for joining us. So let's start by where things stand today, shall we? So Ms. Zhang Yan, let's begin with you. If we zoom into Wuhan's Optics Valley, what would you say are the defining strengths of the infrared and the optoelectronic cluster there? Do you have any examples in your mind at the moment, perhaps from Guide Infrared's own development?
What makes Optic Valley special? There is the 5 kilometers ecosystem, chip designers, test labs, OEMs, all within walking distance. Let me take an example. When COVID-19 hit, we rallied 37 local suppliers to run up thermal camera production to meet demand. Thermal cameras for instant temperature reading on human body, 100,000 units in just 2 weeks. It was amazing. That's the power of clustering, not just making parts, but also make history. Thank you.
Okay, now let's turn to Mr. Bongartz. As an enterprise in the fiber optics sector at the Optics Valley, how do you evaluate the overall maturity of the cluster your company is currently at? Is there a particular product or innovation from YOFC that best represent that strength?
Yes, in my view, the optical fiber and cable industry has reached a very high level of maturity. There's a rapid growth of market scale, accelerating technological innovation and iteration, and continuously expansion of application fields. And let me give you an example. Artificial intelligence, AI, has become a major game changer. Its rapid development hinges on robust fiber optic networks. In response, YFC developed hollow core fiber technology. This type of fiber uses an air core instead of traditional glass, creating a sort of a tunnel in a hair-thin fiber. This innovation, a 47% increase in transmission speed, and a 31% reduction in latency, which is crucial for applications like the remote surgery, high-frequency trading, and artificial supercomputing networks. Our technology is truly top-notch, and YFC stands at the forefront of the industry in the mass manufacture of extended-length, ultra-low-loss hollow-core fibers. At the OFC conference recently in the US, March 30 to April 2nd, YFC unveiled game-changing hollow core fiber advances. The single fiber core exceeds 20 kilometers in length, with a record low attenuation of just 0.05 dB per kilometer. And this marks the lowest attenuation fiber globally, for surpassing the attenuation limits of existing solid core fibers.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bongartz. My next question is for Mr. Marion. So Valeo is a world-renowned supplier in the automotive industry and has been present in China since 1994. So what advantages does China's automotive ecosystem offer as a whole in terms of innovation speed, production efficiency, and supply chain integration?
Well, thank you very much. As you said, we have been in China for more than 31 years. And I will take three examples to illustrate how much China is bringing in terms of manufacturing, in terms of innovation, speed, and in terms of ecosystem. The first one is manufacturing. Our main advanced driving assistance systems plant, which is in Shenzhen, which is one of the two biggest plants that we have in the world, just received a couple of months ago the Lighthouse recognition from the World Economic Forum, making it one of the few, the first one actually within Valeo to get this to get this award, and is, if I'm not mistaken, also was one of the first plants in Shenzhen to get this award. This is the proof that we have there the most advanced manufacturing capabilities, including electronic monitoring of the plant, and even part of the plant is totally dark. In terms of innovation speed, in our lighting R&D center in Wuhan, we were able to reach a development speed that we don't have anywhere else in the world. Today, we are able to develop a lamp for car in less than 12 months, where it takes typically something like 24 months in the rest of the world. My last example will be about the ecosystem. I think what China is bringing is a wonderful ecosystem of actors so that we can execute open innovation. The last example we have announced at the Shanghai Auto Show was a cooperation with a company called Pangood, with whom we are making range extended motors for range extended vehicles. Which is a key technology to make the new energy vehicles of tomorrow. So 3 examples of how much China can bring in terms of manufacturing, in terms of innovation speed, as well as in terms of depth of the ecosystem.
China's got a full box of tools. Well, my last question is for Ms. Balsek. Taicang has long been regarded as a showcase of successful China-Germany industrial cooperation. So from your vantage point, what makes Taicang's cluster of German businesses stand out in terms of synergy and localization?
There are actually several factors that contribute to Taicang being successful regarding Sino-German cooperation. I think I will just mention some of them. So one is actually the early mover advantage. In 1993, the first German company entered the Taicang market, and starting from that point, the German companies were following, and actually the companies were able to build a strong network and shape the industrial ecosystem from the scratch. Then there's actually a high level of localization going on in Taicang, because the German companies here, most of them, they are following a China for China strategy. So they are trying to localize their supply chain. Also, the staff is quite localized. So I think that's also quite an important point. And moreover, a lot of companies also have their own R&D center here. So that makes quite sure that it's not like before that German companies or European companies just put the products they had on the Chinese market, but they saw where they were, they saw the potential and the demand of the local market, and they started actually to produce and to develop directly for the local market there. Then another important aspect is actually the strong network and engagement of the German companies here, because they are not just producing or doing their business, they are also engaging a lot in projects. We have, for example, projects also together with the local government, like in industry standards. So they are working on standard or common standards they are going to use, which also make the trade easier and which makes production easier in future and also right now already. And there's also the dual education, which is driven by the German companies here in cooperation with the local government, because it's always important to have high qualified workforce. And the German companies are helping to introduce the German dual education system here in Taicang, and the government is supporting from their side with vocational schools, etc. Also, very important point is actually the social engagement. So it's not just we're here to earn money, but they want to contribute. So one big project they started here 10 years ago actually is the Inclusion Factory. So they formed a factory for people with disabilities, and they could get an employment here, and they are now able to provide for their families. So this also shows that the German companies are here really to engage in the area and also to help to improve the area and not just to make business here. Which also leads now to the last point I want to mention, which I already tackled a little bit, is the close relationship with the local government, because the relations are quite close. The government here is really hands-on from the starting, from the German companies when they entered here, they saw the potential, and they also wanted to help and to provide everything they could in order to make this environment very attractive for the German companies. So I think this is also a very important factor, that local governments is really interested in the problems and the pain points of the companies, and they are going or trying their best to help to solve those. So these are several of the main advantages here.
Right, Ms. Balzac, we know that German businesses here in Taicang are really fully committed in the Chinese market. And now that we've mapped out the landscape, let's talk about what keeps these clusters growing. Let's turn to Ms. Zhang Yan again. So from your experience, what would you identify as the most critical enablers of growth in the infrared industry? What makes that cluster happen? Is it technical expertise, supply chain integration, or something else?
Okay, actually, three factors are critical for growth in my eyes. Number one, our core innovations, like our in-house infrared detector chips, it broke foreign monopolies and cut costs while boosting performance. Number two, localized supply chains. In Optical Valley in Wuhan, you can see R&D, manufacturing, and talent are all tightly connected. That's how we scale up. Number three, we can say policy and diversifying demand. Chinese government support is quite strong. For example, Made in China 2025 meets our booming civilian uses. And what makes the cluster happen works. We have universities, we have companies, and policy align here. In Optical Valley, we can say lab ideas turn into products faster than any other areas.
Okay, now, Mr. Bongartz, what do you see as the fundamental factors that allow the fiber optics cluster to maybe not just sustain itself, but expand, particularly in the face of rising international demand?
I think there are three key factors that drive the expansion of the optical fiber and cable industry cluster amid rising international demand. The first factor is the continuous technological innovation, which enhances product performance and reduces cost, making fiber optics more attractive, and for various applications, this is suitable. Second, the economies of scale achieved through mass production lower the unit cost and boosting competitiveness. And the third factor is that the industry benefits from global infrastructure growth, especially in 5G deployment and broadband expansion, and that creates high demand. Additionally, diversified application in sectors such as healthcare, automotive, and smart cities open new markets for us. Strategic industry clusters foster collaboration, knowledge sharing, and innovation, and this strengthens the ecosystem. In addition, supportive government policies and investments further accelerate our growth. And finally, a focus on quality and reliable builds customer trust, ensuring long-term demand. Together, all these factors create a resilient industry capable of sustained expansion.
My next question is for Mr. Marion. So what are the key enablers, in your view, that make China such a fertile ground for automotive innovation?
I think it is clear. The automotive market in China is at the forefront of the three biggest transformations that are happening right now on the automotive market in the world. The first one is electrification, with the range of and the share of new energy vehicles, which means battery energy vehicle, electric vehicle, or hybrid plug-in hybrid, range extended hybrid, is much higher than anywhere else. This is a very fertile market for innovation, because to reach such share of electric vehicles, we need to innovate to make the best technologies for the end user at the most affordable cost. So this is I would say, revolution number one in the automotive market. The second revolution is related to driving assistance and how the car is becoming more and more autonomous. And this can take two directions, can be the development of automatic taxi, which we call robotaxi, or on the other side, the car that is your car, your particular car, which is able to do more and more by itself, still under the supervision of the driver. The third revolution, which is happening predominantly in China, is the car is becoming software. Software for the end user, much more interactive cars, but also much more intelligent car. Altogether, these three transformations are happening faster in China, which is why we are totally committed to China, because we, Valeo, we also are at the forefront of these three transformations. Our activity really is embedded really into this three transformation. We provide electrical systems and thermal systems for new energy vehicles. We provide the software and sensors for advanced driving assistance systems to make the car safer and reduce accidents. And last one is about the software and making the computing units as well as the software in the car.
Right. And at the end of the day, is the real demand that drives supply. Well, Ms. Balzac,
Exactly.
in your opinion, what are the most powerful growth drivers behind Taicang's development as maybe one of the preferred destinations for German enterprises?
Actually, one important aspect is the existing network and the infrastructure. So there's actually a snowball effect. When 30 years ago the first company or big company settled down, the other companies were following. So if you consider, I have to have my suppliers or my partners here as well. The partners are asked by the big customers to come to China as well. And where are they going? They're of course going nearby the biggest customer. So I think that was really one important aspect of the growth of Taicang, that the small ball effect was really important. The other thing is that Taicang has quite an attractive geographical position here in the area, because although Taicang is part of Jiangsu and Suzhou, Taicang is the city closest to Shanghai. Actually, you can drive five minutes on the highway and you already cross the border to Shanghai. So that is quite near. So why is it important or good? You can use the infrastructure of Shanghai as well. You have the international airports, you have the free trade zone, you have the harbor, although Taicang has a free trade zone and a harbor as well. But this is of course an important aspect, that the infrastructure is really good. And you have the high-speed trains, which also are well connected to the other Yangtze Delta areas. So the geographical aspects are very important. Coming together with this, Taicang is a really small city in Chinese point of view, so just 1 million, 1 million inhabitants, a third-tier city. So the companies need more labor force or more professional talents, which are actually here. So the proximity to Shanghai and also to Suzhou helps the company to recruit personnel or high-quality personnel. So they might live in Shanghai, they might live in Suzhou or nearby, but they can even commute to Taicang as well. And so the companies are able to fill the need of employees here as well.
There are lots of components to it, right? But that proximity, as you mentioned, really matters. The shorter the distance is, the better it is for a cluster to happen. But let's also look at some of the obstacles. So, Ms. Zhang Yan, when Guide Infrared pursued greater self-reliance in critical components like chips and maybe thermal cores, what were the main bottlenecks from your view, and how did your team overcome those challenges?
We face three big walls. First one is high-performance chip design. Developing advanced infrared detector chips require cutting-edge semiconductor expertise. What we do is investing heavily in domestic R&D, partnering with Chinese research institute and gradually building the proprietary IP portfolios. The second one, thermal imaging course demand ultra precise fabrication with equipment like MBE or LTA machines historically imported. The solution is the same, localizing production by sourcing domestic alternatives. Third one is talent gap. Actually, the whole industry is in a shortage of engineers skilled in compound semiconductor physics and packaging. What we do is to establish training programs with universities. We have two very famous local universities, Wuhan University, Huazhong University of Science and Technology. By 2024, Dai Infrared achieved more than 95% domestic content in its high-end thermal imagers, mass producing 1,000 by 1,000 resolution detectors. The company's patents in wafer-level packaging and digital analog hybrid chips now totally independent of Western tech.
That homegrown tech advances and breakthroughs really matter, right, to the long-term success of an industry. My next question is for Mr. Bongartz. As global telecom standards evolve rapidly, where does YOFC feel the most pressure?
With the rapid development of the optical fiber and cable industry, especially the fast evolution of global telecom standards, companies in our sector inevitably face various challenges. For YFC, the most pressing bottleneck lies in technology. Our traditional fiber optic technology is already well developed and good enough for everyday communication. But with the rise of artificial intelligence and the sharp increase in data traffic, we now need more advanced solutions, like the hollow core fiber which I mentioned earlier. These fiber which use air in the center can overcome traditional limits and enable very high speed networks. They are ideal for 6G, high frequency trading, cloud computing, and quantum communication. However, achieving such breakthroughs in technology is quite tough. It involves solving difficult engineering problems. Even so, breaking through these technological barriers will push the entire industry forward. That's why YFC is committed to leading in the development and use of hollow core fibers.
Okay, for Mr. Marion, from Valio's perspective, what have been some of the main bottlenecks or structural challenges, if you will, in scaling your operations across China? How have China's industrial clusters helped you address or navigate those challenges?
Well, I see a couple of challenges that we face right now in the automotive industry development in China. The first one is the diversity of technology at this stage is still very wide. I mentioned the different kind of electrical technologies which we believe are going to last, but also you can see a big diversity in terms of software and hardware architecture as well as technical solutions. So this is clearly a challenge for us, and we raise up to this challenge by optimizing, of course, of research and development, which enables us to research all these technologies at the same time. But it is a challenge. The second challenge was also mentioned by Ms. Zhang Yan is the talent pool. Of course, China has a super deep talent pool with very strong universities and students, but there is also a very big competition for this talent pool. So this can be a bottleneck. The third one will be the level of competition there is in China is very fierce. All the companies are there. All the leading players, international players like us, are present in China. On the other side, of course, there are a lot of local companies in the automotive market. So this is, I would say, the third challenge. that we see. And I would add two points. The first one is the fact that we get very strong support from the local governments. It was already mentioned to confront these kind of challenges, especially of the talent pool, or the ability to build and invest in new facilities. So very good support from local government. And the second thing is that this kind of challenge is actually interesting in a way. We call China the fitness center for the automotive industry in the world. Because if you succeed in China, then you will definitely get much stronger to succeed everywhere else.
My last question is for Ms. Balzac. What are the main challenges that German businesses in Taicang face today, and how does your center help the companies address those challenges?
Now, basically, it's the big challenges all economies are facing right now or recently. Just to start, of course, the pandemic hit the companies very, very hard, and it still infects the recent economy. So the customers are much more price sensitive, and that of course affects their businesses. Then the all over geographical situation, the wars we have going on in the world, and also the tariff wars with the US is also not helping some companies here who have businesses there. So in general, I think it's more about facing the challenges which are lying ahead and coping with this. And what we can do and what we try to do is actually using our bridge building function. So I think in those kind of times, it's quite important that the communication stays up, that there is a lot of information going back and forth, so that businesses in Germany, for example, also know what the situation in China is, what is the struggle the companies have here, and what do they actually need. And on the other way around, also for Chinese companies right now who are interested in the European market, it's important to see what is actually possible and how to enter a new market. So we trying to fill this gap in this role and to just inform, to talk to companies, to talk to media, to talk to government delegations as well. We are receiving several from Germany, also from China, and I think that is really a core mission we are doing. And also within Taicang, to put it now on a smaller scale, we have here also an association, the Taicang Roundtable, which was also built up by the German companies here 10 years ago. And their role is also to be a bridge builder between the government here and the local companies to address the pain points and what they actually need, so that there's always discussion and communication to solve all the problems which are lying ahead of the companies here.
There's always a process to figure everything out. A healthy level of competition can certainly drive industrial development, but it's equally important to guide different players along the value chain toward coordinated cooperation and smart collaboration. The goal, of course, is to keep everyone moving in the same direction. Instead of blindly pursuing scale or trying to do everything at once, regions should really play to their strengths, whether it's talent, technology, or land resources, and develop those strengths in a way that fits their local reality. At the same time, it's important to find ways to grow alongside other regions, with each other filling a role that supports the bigger picture. Now, my next question, of course, is for Ms. Zhang Yan. So with the global trade environment becoming increasingly unpredictable, just how resilient are China's industrial clusters?
Here are some layers of protection we made. Layer 1, localizing critical tech. We now make our own imported chips and thermal cores totally in China. Reduce reliance on imports. Even the high-end series, what we call MCT detectors, are made entirely in-house. Guess what my first station 23 years ago when I joined the company? Sure, not CEO, I'm the import manager to source